Hollywood is in chaos. Not only is the Walt Disney Company under fire from South Park, from Gina Carano, and from so much more, but the Marvel's script has leaked. And we're finding out that actors are breaking away with the rules set forth by SAG-AFTRA. Now, not only that, but it seems like the Guild is actually angry with Taylor Swift, of all people. You are not going to want to miss why. It all has to do with leverage, and we'll explain it right now. Hello folks, welcome back to another video of excellence here on the WDW Pro channel. It's excellent because you have joined us, and it's an honor as always. Also joining us, we have Michelle of Force of Light, Jonas J. Campbell, investigative reporter for thatparkplace.com, Lou Wasserman's Ghost, who has significant experience with Guild issues, and yours truly, WDW Pro. I just do the talking. All right, well, let's dive in to our very first endeavor here, which is going to be Variety setting the table for us in regards to SAG-AFTRA. Negotiators keep talking, but no deal reached yet. Here's what it says, this out within the last 24 hours. SAG-AFTRA leadership continued to bargain with the major studios on Sunday, but despite growing optimism around the industry, no deal has been reached yet. I wish there was some way to know where they gather that. You know, is there some sort of speedometer for optimism, and perhaps an optimizometer? I don't know. Who knows? Positometer.
Hollywood is a very leaky place, you know.
Yes, well, maybe they need to get their oil changed and tighten the screws
to the point
down.
where the ship is sinking, but that's another story.
Yes, indeed. The union presented its latest proposal to the studios on Saturday. The two sides were said to be engaged in productive talks through the weekend. One source said that on Sunday there were tough conversations. They have yet to resolve the thorny issues around regulation of artificial intelligence. Another said that the talks were progressing in the right direction. And it goes on to talk about the situation we're in, which is that movies are essentially being moved out of 2024 to 2025. And it feels like, at the same time, that we're seeing so much chaos around the Walt Disney Company that Hollywood itself is sort of crumbling under anarchy. So, Mr. Ghost, take it away, please. Tell us what's going on here.
There is a classic Sherlock Holmes thing about the dog that didn't bark. When they said they had tough conversations, but it was about AI, what didn't they mention even? That whole 57 cents a head levy that they were talking about that blew up the talks a week ago or whenever it was. So if that's not even in the quote-unquote tough conversations, it's gone and everybody knows it. They just don't want to announce it because then they look stupid for having brought it up in the first place, which they were.
Lou, the last time I had you on the channel, we discussed that Deadpool 3 would likely miss the summer. 3 days later, articles came out saying Deadpool 3 would miss the summer. Now they say that the very best chance, which is, I mean, there's no way, but the very best chance is a July 26th release. That's not going to happen. That's my estimation. I could be wrong, could get egg on my face there, but I don't think so. Lou, are we at the point where now we're looking at no movies that were in production and had to stop? None of those movies coming through until at least very late 2024?
Yes.
And do you anticipate the strike will end in the next few months? Do you think that we get this thing wrapped up before we all break for Hanukkah and for Christmas?
That's the issue, isn't it? That the holidays kind of put everything on hold. Everybody goes away for a couple of weeks to think about it. Depends on how lean some people's holidays are because they haven't been making money, and unfortunately, that's not most of the membership of the Actors Guild. Remember, the people that are really hurting in this thing are the grips and electricians and everybody else who's out of work. As I always mention when we talk about this, a very small percentage of the 165,000 some odd members of SAG-AFTRA actually earn income at it at any level approaching a so-called living wage or living of any kind. They're all doing something else. So it's great to be virtue signaling how solidarity is wonderful when it doesn't touch your bottom line. Now, conversely, when the industry is shut down, then that means lots of other businesses in LA, for example, that these people might normally work at are also hurting, and that could eventually impinge on their revenues. But until then, not so much.
On the flip side of this, of course, there are two actresses who are not able to be on the carpet right now. They're not out there publicizing.
Did you care to rephrase that?
Yes, well, no. There are two actresses who are not able to walk upon the red carpet of publicity. And those would be Rachel Zegler and Brie Larson, both with big movies coming up. So, Michelle, There's actually a positive side to this, I would say, although it's a silver lining on a very dark cloud for Hollywood. But the ability to make major mistakes right now is curtailed, I would say, from Zegler and Larson. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's definitely true. I think the mistake with Captain Marvel is that they made the movie to begin with.
And we'll talk about the leaks coming up on the channel this evening, but my gosh, they're terrible.
Yes, and then with Rachel Zegler, I think the mistake was probably just one, people feel so about prequels to begin with, and then secondly, the mistake was probably casting Rachel Zegler. Yeah, like you said, at least it's going to cut it will stop the bleeding of any dumb things they could do on the red carpet, but I think it's already too late for both of those movies.
Indeed.
Well,
Jonas,
also,
we saw. Oh, go ahead, Lou.
I was going to say, with Snow White now pushed back a year, the question will be, if she's silent for most of that for whatever reason, or they shut her down, how much will people remember as far as their lingering resentment of this movie and her attitude a year from now when it finally comes out, especially since, who knows, the Daily Wire folks might get theirs out first.
Oh, that's a great point. They could actually have a lead of about a year. Jonas, I want your take on the Snow White situation, because there are a few exceptions here where perhaps being on strike will force the studio to do better. We've seen what looks to be AI-generated dwarfs now. They look like monstrosities, but they're better than the dirty hippies that we had before.
Yes, and of course there's that debate about whether or not we all just happen to see 7 bandits and say that they must have been the 7 dwarves or 7 whatevers.
Maybe there's both. Maybe we'll get bandits, hippies, hobos, and monstrosities.
It's very telling, of course, that right as they're saying, "Oh, we're going to delay this a year," actually, yeah, so now they've got a year and a half to fix this movie, which is more than enough time to make it from scratch. That they finally release, make it twice. You say?
To say they're better than the 7 dirty hippies, as you wonderfully call them, is like the old Monty Python spam thing. Well, that's not got much spam in it.
Right.
You know,
in this case, I think
better
it's
is
drool.
relative, and in this case, scary relative.
Yes,
they could have done a much better job by just defending their movie in the first place, or maybe saying, "Oh well, we want to focus on this aspect of it," and maybe Miss Zegler got it a little bit wrong.
Or hire actual people with dwarfism to play the dwarfs. That would have, by the way, hired on at least 14 people with dwarfism who would have had the opportunity to be included, and I think that's the idea behind inclusion. But no. Now we've gone to the extreme lengths of ugly Shrek-looking characters. So anyway.
Well, I don't know if they look that bad. One of them looks like Tommy Lee Jones.
Well, and then another issue there is, isn't it cheaper just to get actual people than to sit there and have to CGI?
I can't tell you how expensive it must be to try to do 7 CGI characters who all have human skin, because, when we look at the CGI stuff for cartoon characters like Mario, that's not hard because you don't have to do anything with the skin other than it's a shiny texture. When you look at like Sonic the Hedgehog, that's very easy nowadays because you use a fur generator that renders as each frame is being made. When you're trying to create realistic human CGI characters alongside a real life actress or real life actors, this is not only expensive, it's going to be doomed to failure, in my opinion. Because you can't think about it this way. If you had Princess Leia from the movie where they resurrected her via CGI, right? Yes. They do a close-up for a few seconds, okay, from Rogue One. They do a few seconds, close-up, done. They don't put her next to anybody because, and same thing with Tarkin, you don't put them next to anybody because as soon as you do, the illusion is broken, if there is an illusion at all. You're going to do 7 of those next to a real person. Good luck.
And you're still going to have to hire either people who are small or children or somebody to be in the blue or green suits with the red tennis balls to do the matrix for it.
And they cannot be the bandits that we've already seen because they're not of the same stature except for one. So, well, let's go now to the chaos that is ensuing, and I think this really shows us that even the actors have had enough with SAG-AFTRA. This out of the AV Club, Megan Fox snarkily flouts SAG-AFTRA's controversial Halloween guidelines, and this comes on the heels of Ryan Reynolds having mocked it as well. And then there was a very weak response to him mocking it from SAG-AFTRA. So I don't think that anybody is real happy with this. This is by Sam Barsanti, folks, we've got the link in the description down below. I don't think we have to read it other than just knowing that this is what happened, is that essentially we've got actors and actresses now saying, enough, I'm going to dress however I want to for Halloween. And SAG-AFTRA seems to be breaking ranks now, even on things such as this that are silly. I think it's still significant. What do you all think?
I think they just gave the finger to their union leadership, didn't they?
They did, and without so far repercussion.
You know what's interesting here is I would bet the lead time on these Halloween costumes is longer than SAG-AFTRA was anticipating.
Yes.
So they had assistants and things. There was probably somebody who had conversations with a full team to get some of these people ready.
Because it's a publicity activity. Halloween is not just going out for trick-or-treats for actors. That's not how this works.
They don't start this a couple of days before and say, you know what, I'm just going to throw a couple of things on. These are full team efforts, I'd be willing to imagine. And to say to, I don't know, Megan Fox, Kim Kardashian or whatever, Fran Drescher is telling you that you can't do your costume this year. I don't think they're going to listen to that.
And when you talked about repercussions, I have, in my various capacities, sat in on what are called disciplinary hearings within various guilds for things like working on a non-union deal or breaking the contract. I'm trying to imagine one where somebody is called in and put before a board of their peers to be punished for wearing the wrong costume on Halloween.
And therefore, it's unenforceable, right, Lou? That's what that means, is this was a rule that was unenforceable.
Not only unenforceable, but that anybody with any sense would have said, oh, this is going to make us look stupid. We may feel this way, but for God's sakes, don't put that out in the world. But nobody there thought that. They thought it made them look wonderful.
Makes them
Maybe
look like
that's why we've heard rumors that Fran Drescher is now being called the ninny rather than the nanny.
Which is a shame. I really like Fran Drescher. Anybody that can do that many seasons of a sitcom, that is star power right there. So I don't want to have this sullied image here of I like to think that she rubber stamped this and somebody said, yeah, let's go send out some costume guidelines or something like that.
But you know, she is entitled by her position, which is voted on by the membership, to say no to that rubber stamp. So whether it came from her or it came from somebody else, it got out with her approval, or else it wouldn't have gotten out.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I want to bounce onto that star power that was just mentioned. This is not about Fran Drescher. It's about someone else who has massive star power. And I think this also is another sign that leverage is now being lost by the Actors Guild. We're talking about Taylor Swift. And this is multifaceted. And at this point, I think Michelle will know vastly more than the rest of us gentlemen on the panel. But that said, Taylor Swift has done a number on the Guild, I think. Taylor Swift, number one, did a theatrical concert, which was extraordinarily successful. And in doing so, I think that unleashed the theaters to now realize, oh, we don't necessarily need the movies. We need to do theaters, to do concerts in here. And so you're seeing Beyonce now follow in this same suit. If we go to 2024, you could see others doing these sorts of concerts, especially if movies are not there. And so that has weakened the hand of SAG-AFTRA, I believe. But then on top of that, Taylor Swift is back in the news again because she is a talented person with multi-talented person, all sorts of abilities. She's a Renaissance woman, I tell you, because now folks out there are surmising that she is not only a fabulous singer, but she is also the writer or a writer behind the upcoming film Argylle. So that has generated all kinds of publicity, even after the director, Matthew Vaughn, for the movie, made all kinds of publicity by talking about a Star Wars reboot. And what this has done essentially, folks, this out of Vanity Fair, by the way, what this has done essentially is it has allowed, via Taylor Swift and via Matthew Vaughn, them to market this movie during a strike without ever mentioning the movie, which would be against the rules, but they have marketed it nevertheless and highly successfully. So, Michelle, tell us real quick, and by the way, I don't believe that Taylor Swift is really the writer behind it, but it's fascinating. Why do you think that Taylor Swift was so incredible in terms of generating profits at theaters? Do you think that it can be replicated, or was this a one-time experience?
Okay, I think Beyonce will be successful. I will be shocked if she's more successful than Taylor Swift because love her, like her, can't stand her. It's kind of like respecting a Tom Brady or Michael Jordan at this point. I mean, when you look at the numbers, when you look at what her tour has done, the excitement, I mean, good gosh, if you looked at the Eras tour at every show and she would pack out cities for days, not one thing, not one night, but like say she was in Atlanta for 3 nights and sold it out all 3 nights. Not only did you have the people inside, you had people coming just to be around the stadium, like by thousands there to participate in the show. What I say that to say, she basically has arrived like at the Michael Jackson level of excitement and just duration of a career. I mean, she's now been in this business for 17 years, and that being done she's still 33 years old.
Longer than the Beatles.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
I mean, that's why I say MJ. MJ obviously had such a long duration of success in his career as well. Plus the excitement that he was able to generate. I mean, she's there. So the story, it doesn't surprise me because Swifties are always coming up with, they're always trying to crack the code of things that are of numbers and things that are happening in the Swift world.
Take a look at this code. I mean, you have to give them credit. There's reason to have believed this. It's being denied. And I'm saying that I think it's extremely unlikely, but I'll leave out the possibility it's true. The Hollywood Reporter noted in September of 2022 that Apple shelled out a reported $200 million for the rights to Argylle, a novel, which is set to be published in January, a staggering price tagged for a first-time author. But attempts by the outlet to obtain an advance copy of the book or contact Conway's representatives was unsuccessful. A search for her name yielded only connections to a fictional character on the long-running Australian soap opera Neighbours. That character made her first appearance on the series on December 13th, which also happens to be Swift's birthday. So there was lots of connections here, and there was a connection with the cat, in the trailer for the movie, and so all kinds of stuff going here.
Yeah, the cat looks like the same type breed that she has.
Exactly. And it is bizarre that this kind of money has been thrown, this kind of effort behind a first-time author. Jonas, what do you make of the fact, though, that Hollywood, and I suppose it's just limited right now to this film. I haven't seen anybody else be this successful, but what do you make of the fact that they have been able to bypass the guild and their efforts to, I guess, break these movies and make the studios come to the table legitimately and cave into them?
Well, that's the funny thing about these press tours, these junkets, the things that rise to the top when in a traditional system, they'll set up the actors and the producers and the director or whatever in some kind of a situation where there's rapid fire for long periods of time with a whole bunch of different outlets interviewing so that they can talk about the movie. But all of the stuff that rises to the top is them talking about other projects and other things and weird stories. So that in this case, it appears that Matthew Vaughn, intentional or not, which I think it's intentional, he has said so many inflammatory and strange things like, what if we reboot Star Wars? What if we, I don't know, recast the Pope? I don't know.
It really shows, though, Jonas. I mean, that was a precursor to the Star Wars thing. I think it shows that if you pile on Star Wars, it is not a small fringe element that enjoys reading that and has hope that it actually comes to pass. It has to be a huge number of people, or else these things would not gather steam.
And a whole lot of websites that are Star Wars centric that will pick the story up, even if
they're starved for anything to cover.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
but
so
this movie
essentially he's activated the publicity machine without touching it at all.
This movie, I started looking into it when we talked about doing this conversation, has so many weird name games going on. For one thing, you all know Matthew Vaughn. Vaughn is not his last name originally at birth. He picked that name to be his quote-unquote stage name because allegedly his mother had an affair with Robert Vaughn, Napoleon Solo, the man from U.N.C.L.E., and he was supposedly his biological offspring. Secondly, one of the listed producers on the long list of people involved in this film is a Claudia Vaughn, who is really Claudia Schiffer, who he's married to. Thirdly, and this was the one that got
down the rabbit hole we go, folks.
Bryce Dallas Howard, who plays the lady writing the book in the movie, is, of course, Ron Howard's daughter. And the reason her middle name is Dallas is, quote unquote, that's the city in which she was conceived. Do you know anybody who ever named their kid after the city where the act took place that generated their birth?
Sure,
You know, I think-
you should meet Steve Waffle House Jones. He is a very interesting character.
Yeah.
So, the
It does
layers
make
and
me
levels
wonder
of
about
this.
Ally McBeal.
Oh, God. And the other thing is, I was thinking about it with the plot of this. It's really kind of a steal from 6 Days of the Condor, which was all about this guy reading fiction to get ideas of spy stuff that could actually be done, and somebody wiping the place out because they revealed something secret. You remember that
Who
movie
knows?
and the book with Robert Redford, and so it's wheels within wheels are going on here.
Who knows? Maybe this is all part of the machinations of Taylor Swift's genius mind. All playing us right now, like a violin, or in her earlier days when she was country, like a fiddle.
I will say that Taylor Swift, I don't know if it's her group behind her, they are pretty genius in dropping these little breadcrumbs. Like anytime she has some upcoming thing that's going to drop, she literally will just drop the tiniest hints, and the Swifties begin to piece together the crumbs. And then ultimately, like, the excitement builds, and then she reveals whatever it is. So she has been known to do that on multiple occasions. So I don't know if there's any truth to it. I'd be surprised, but that she has done this before.
And then the next thing you know, she's at the Grammys holding a chimpanzee dressed like my buddy.
Let's hope she doesn't set her hair on fire at any point. It leads to no bueno situations. Lou, I want to go to you for the last word here.
Oh,
when it comes to where this could go with the entertainment industry, do you think that are we closer now? We have to be closer to an end, but do you think that we are, quote unquote, close to the end and we may actually get back to work soon?
Gosh, I hope so, for all those people that can't control it and are being affected by it. But the last point I wanted to make was this whole idea of the theaters without movies to show, switching to concert stuff. Let's remember what this streaming concert live in a theater on a limited basis thing began with. It was the Metropolitan Opera. It was, well, there may not be enough people to fill our biggest 1,200 seat reclining seat house, but there's enough culture vultures out there that if on Tuesday and Thursday we show them Aida from the Met live, we can fill up the 200 and 300 seat houses. So the question becomes, if it becomes a business of Taylor Swift and Beyonce, what do you do with all the little houses that are still going to be dark? Because there's no point in running it in those smaller venues in these multiplexes. And I think you're going to see a ripple through the entire world in the sense that the malls that are around the theater are going to have less business, and the restaurants that are near the theater, and everything else. So the answer is we ain't close, I don't believe, to solving this. And even when they are, as we talked about in an earlier discussion, the time it takes to ramp it all up again is considerable.
Well, I have to say that I don't think that theaters are in a great position after the pandemic to suffer again, and malls have far worse situations surrounding them. So
right.
Neither of those institutions is well positioned for what is coming for them.
It's the parking lots. It's the gas stations that, hey, we're on our way to go to the theater. Let's fill up. This ripples outward so completely that it's major. It's major.
That's right. Here we go to streaming and Amazon packages and all of that, and we'll all sit shuttered inside our homes. Save us, Taylor Swift. Save us.
You're
all right. Well, let's go to Michelle real quick. Michelle, what can we expect out of the fantastic channel Force of Light in the upcoming days?
Oh, well, assuming this video is coming out today, we have a live stream on Monday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be discussing the Gina Carano tweet and the pandering, some of that type stuff going on. And then also this week, we should have our first time watching reaction to Ghostbusters. I'd already seen it, but Natalie never seen it. So it's really Natalie's first time watching reaction. But definitely check us out at Force of Light Entertainment.
I hope she loved it.
Which Ghostbusters are we talking here?
the OG one, the real one.
The good one. Okay.
Yeah.
My favorite dry humor comedy of all time. Until the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is exploded, then it's really not dry anymore. But Jonas,
Yes,
you have more content, more entertainment news than you can possibly cover this week. I don't know how that feels for you, but why What's coming up on That Park Place as you try to stay above water on it all?
I mean, when we're covering like 7 stories a day and with additional videos, I'm kind of shocked that we even have to say no to some stories. But tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., we're doing a Halloween live stream. I say it's a Halloween live stream just because it happens to be on Halloween. We'll be talking about Nelson Peltz and the additional shares that he has coming from Ike Perlmutter. So there's a little bit of a discussion of Disney internal boardroom drama, which is wonderful. We'll be talking about Marvel's current state over there with the reboot of Daredevil, which now looks like it's going to have the Netflix guys running it. We'll, of course, be talking about Gina Carano. I think, Pro, you've told us we need to talk about South Park into the Pandaverse, so I'm going to have to come up with something there. But yeah, we can dish on that too. There is so much going on. We are very much looking forward to our special live stream tomorrow. I'll be there. Vash will be there. And we'll have Culture Casino and Mexican Iron Man there for the even harder hitting business analysis. So it's going to be a good time.
And Lou, you do not have a channel, so I'll ask you instead, what candy are you giving out to the lovely little trick-or-treaters?
You know, I'm so happy that they just don't come here.
Same.
Because we're up a hill, and right across the street is a big church where they do one of those parking lot trick-or-treat
Trunk or treat, yeah.
And so we kind of get ignored. You know,
well, plus the air horn scares them away. So
I saw on a meme today of somebody who took Rice Krispies and dyed them red and stuck them together in little things and got little miniature like meat trays from the deli and made it look like little ground beef patties. That was clever, but I'm not going to work that hard. Give me my Butterfingers and go away, you know.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. And the good parents won't let them eat those either. So
that's right. Order the catapult from the South Park special.
There you go.
Put it together and launch the candy down to that church parking lot so they can enjoy.
See, that's what I should have said. I needed a handyman to come do my Halloween. So,
well, you're going to pay a lot for those handymen. They know how to do stuff, and we don't. All right, folks. One thing we do know how to do is to ask you for your thoughts. Drop a comment down below. We cover your comments. We care about what you think. We mean it. And if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button. Share, subscribe. When you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. There is more content that we can possibly cover, but we'll try. We're going to be talking about the Marvel's script leaking tonight here on the Pro channel if you're watching this video at the time of release. And we will continue to explain entertainment, keep you ahead of the culture curve. It's what we do. We love it. Sorry, mainstream media, but we'll keep at it. So wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Floral, it's time for you to walk the plank.
What? Why?
Because you haven't subscribed to WDW Pro yet. Nor bookmark thatparkplace.com on your web browser to get great articles from great contributors.
What?